Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Shut Up and Do It podcast. A place you can come and hang out with us while we go through all things real estate with a focus on bringing you top quality topics, speakers, and all who believe in a get it done manner. I'm your host, Nick Allerud, creator of the Complete Deal Flow System and a principal with AA Real Estate Group, along with my partner and co-host, the Deal Flow expert, sales trainer, lead gen machine, and leader of the solutions team. Oh, and of course, broker and esquire, Robbie Retzel. What's going on, Rob, today?
That's a lot of titles. I never get used to that introduction, Nick. I got to tell you.
You got to put them all at the end of your LinkedIn profiles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it would fit on the page, though.
That's it. It's true. That's true.
I'm really excited today, man. This is awesome. I mean, we love motivation and people who are just out there crushing it and coaching people. And today's guest is, right on cue for that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Speaking of LinkedIn titles, right? So Mr. Boatright, as we met recently, and I don't know why we hadn't met before. This guy has overcome some serious, both personal and business challenges. He's a skydiver. He's the top 1% of the 200 million most viewed profiles on LinkedIn. He's got 3 best-selling books. This guy has created like this mobile app. He's got 200,000 downloads on that. He's an insane dude. We're so excited to have Mr. Cory Boatright on with us today. Cory, what's up, dude?
Nick, how you guys doing? Rob, how you doing? I appreciate you having me on, man.
Doing great. Thanks so much.
It's cold, just like it is where you are, right?
Yeah, it is pretty cold right now. Yeah, here in Oklahoma City. Yesterday it was down to, I think, 22 degrees. Today is around 41, and then I think it's going to drop again a couple more days. But, winter weather's coming in, and, trying to make sure that you stay warm somehow. I guess I got to go to Maui or something.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, Cory, if you want to it's impossible for you to give the top level view in 5 or 6 minutes. But if you want to try to give how'd you start and how'd you get where you are? And
I appreciate it. Yeah. So real estate investor and coach other real estate investors as well now. I really been investing for over 15 years. I really started I bought my first house when I was 21. I'm 42 now. I wouldn't really say I started to get more involved with the actual education side of real estate and kind of blending the hybrid of internet and real estate investing together, which I'm a tech kind of guy. I like all the kind of different mobile apps and technology, anything that basically can make things more efficient, more productive in your business or in your personal life. And so I basically, went through a pretty interesting time in my life. I grew up with no father. My dad passed away when I was 19 months old, and I had 2 older brothers, and 3 and 5 years older than me, not really wanting to hang out too much when I was growing up, and pretty hard struggle with my mom working a lot with no father figure. And I went through my share of making bad choices and learning a lot through them. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I actually dropped out my junior year of high school and never completed. I just got my GED, and most of my friends I hung out with, man, were just not very positive or influence at all. They were getting in trouble. In fact, most of my friends either went to boys' homes or jail. So I was just traveling right along with those footsteps. So even though I had 2 older brothers, I had to get a big brother sister program because I was getting in so much trouble and there was no positive kind of role model around me. My mom thought that was like the only way that she was going to save me from going to jail. And my mom worked a lot of hours, massively driven woman. Today, she's 75 years old. They have a great relationship. But growing up, a struggle. And my mom worked a lot of hours. I remember many, many, many times my mom would work 12-hour days. She has a plaque for working 10 years straight without taking a day off of sickness, which is pretty impressive. And she was like the #1 lady for Mary Kay for a while when she worked in that thing. So I got a lot of drive from my mom. But I just really was not focused. I didn't know where to kind of project this energy that I had. My brother was all-state football, baseball, Mr. Athlete. My other brother, my second oldest brother was kind of a cowboy guy, a mechanic, could take anything apart, put it back together. And I somehow stumbled to be a skater and a musician and kind of an entrepreneur, even when I was very, very young. I remember, selling 5 for $1 candy bars at school, and always just enjoying, the commerce part and just the negotiation part. But and I sold Kirby home cleaning systems, Nick, for door to door, knocking 100 doors a day, putting on 3 demonstrations, selling a Kirby cleaner. I got good at that for like a year and a half. And everything was going great. But then when I really decided that I needed to make some changes in my life, my big brother moved away when I was just about 2 years before I dropped out of high school. Was a big contributing factor. And I ended up joining a Christian heavy metal band. And believe it or not, that was some of the best kind of big moment changes in my life that I ever had, because I really went and decided at that point that I was no longer going to be a follower and be in these really bad situations with friends that really didn't have anything good or positive to be able to contribute. Always wanted to get in trouble, always about the thrill, always about the next kind of thing that's going to get them in trouble. And I decided that I joined a Christian heavy metal group because they looked at me like I was a leader. And I actually understood something for the first time, that God wanted me to be a leader. And that was a very big aha moment in my life. I stayed in that band for several years. We toured around. We actually sold over 20,000 albums. We have a video that's on YouTube that has over 500,000 views, which is just
Wow.
crazy story. But you have aspirations and you have goals. And so I didn't get involved with the Christian heavy metal band to make money. I did it really as a lifelong journey, something to learn. And so when I really started to say, I have aspirations and goals, what can I do in a business capacity? And this was around 19, 20 years old, 21 years old. I really started saying, man, I need to really start exploring this whole business entrepreneurial side. And I'm giving you the short version here, but I started over 40 different companies. Most of them completely failed. I've been a domain broker. I've started Jewelway before. I've worked with lawyers on a little operation before. I've done all these different businesses, and all of them pretty much failed except 2. One of them, I grew up to over $4 million, and I sold that company. I did that for about over 3 years. And then the other one is real estate investing. And real estate investing was the thing that everybody else had in common that was successful, that I was reading about, that I was talking to, I was making these relationships with. And so I knew that I needed to somehow learn about this whole real estate thing. So I got on YouTube. I got on eBay back in that time. I literally ordered every single course I could think of about real estate investing. I got Ron LeGrand's course back then, all those big, thick courses. I got all these different courses and just learned everything I possibly could. I found a guy that was doing some investing. I ended up being a bird dog for him. But then I learned that whenever I was a bird dog for him, he was selling these properties for much, much more money. And so I wanted to figure out how to get involved with that. And so then I realized that he was doing fix and flipping. So I wanted to do fix and flip. So I started a little skeleton rehab crew. I was disgusted that I was not good at it. I didn't like it. I didn't have any joy of seeing something like ugly and come back to life in terms of a house. It wasn't for me. And so I did pay attention to wholesaling though. When I learned that you didn't have to have a lot of your own money, if any of your own money, but you could you could find these deals and you could lock them up with your contract. You could lock them up and you have a contractual or equitable interest in it, and you could sell that contract to someone else and get paid, $3,000 to $5,000 or somewhere around there at that time. So I really started to investigate that, and I got pretty good at that. But then, what happened was pretty crazy. This was probably about 2000, I would say. This is probably about 2006 or 2007. I stumbled upon my first short sale, Rob, and it was the craziest situation. A lady called me. She called me. She said, hey, I got this house I want you to come look at. She called from either a bandit sign or a letter. And I said, okay, well, tell me about the house. She told me about it. And I said, well, what do you think the house is worth? It's worth like 130. Well, what do you owe on it? Like 135. I was like, well, I'm a wholesaler, or I'm a real estate investor. And so, we don't pay retail for properties. There's plenty of agents you can work with. I can redirect you to one of them, but we have to have a little bit of equity, and we purchase these things for cash. And that's why we're able to get it done quickly. And that's one of our reasons that we can, have this small business like this. She said, no, you don't understand. The lender said to come by and make an offer on it. And I remember just very, very distinctly, like, what do you mean the lender said to come by and make an offer? I mean, you owe, 135, it's worth 130. You owe more than what's worth on the house. She says, yeah, but the lender said to make an offer. I said, okay. So I went over, I looked at the property. I made an offer of like around $80,000 or $85,000, something like that, thinking that I'd never hear from the lady again or anything. Literally, like next day or two, I get a call, and she has the loss mitigator, Rob, on the phone. And I'm like, hello. And she's like, hello, Cory, this is, I don't remember her name. We'll call her Sally. This is Sally. And I have Sherry from Bank of America on the phone, and she's in loss mitigation, and she'd like to talk to you about your offer. And I was like, that's strange. And I was like, hello, this is Cory. And she goes, hi, this is Sherry. Can I speak to Cory in loss mitigation? I think she accidentally said it. And it just absolutely resonated with me. It was almost like someone plucked a string on a guitar, and it just resonated with me. I remember that. I'll never forget that, because I ended up using that in my own courses and everything later on in life. And I said, yeah, this is Cory in loss mitigation. And she had a conversation with me, and basically I didn't get it for like the 85, whatever the number was, but I got it for like 5,000 more. And I made more money on that property that had no equity in it than I have in any other transaction I've ever done up to that point. And it just changed everything for me. I realized that, one, there's a lot more of these people that had properties that had no equity, and two, I needed to be the guy to find them. Mm-hmm. So fast forward many, many years after that, I ended up started doing short sales, and then I started getting very good at them. And then people started asking me how I was doing them, because they were still relatively new back then. I started renting out like a little Denny's, have like a little, kind of like a little dinner. Everybody would come and learn and stuff. And then I ended up doing like a little bit bigger seminars about it. And then I talked with a guy named Chris Chico back then. And he had this he had this website called Easy HUD. I don't know if you remember this or not, but Easy HUD is where it was like one of the first websites that was all about like talking about short sales. And I got on there, and I was just giving. I mean, I would post 10, 20 times a day. And I was just giving just to help people out. They would asking questions. Well, come to find out, I was posting like over 1,000 times. And when Chris found out about this, we got in contact with each other. And he said, hey, man, have you thought about making a short sale course? And I was like, a short sale course? I never really thought about making a short sale course. I've been doing these presentations and people bring me deals, but I never thought about doing a course. I kind of thought doing a course was like almost like guru-ish. Like I didn't feel good about it. Like I didn't want to be that guy or whatever, because I had a bad, perception about it. And he said, no, you do this course, put it together. We'll come here, we'll do a webinar together, and then we'll split the profits. And again, fast forward more till that point, we ended up doing our first course. The course was called Short Sale Fundamentals. I ended up selling over 2,500 of those courses, between $1,500 and $1,000 essentially over the many years afterwards. I started a short sale company that was fantastic. It got up to over 5,000 users paying $99 a month at one point. I would say probably out of the 5,000 users, we gave a lot away. We were probably over 3,500 that were actually paying, but $350,000 a month was a pretty strong business. In that regard, I got a chance to meet a whole bunch of these other speakers, because they asked me to come talk to them on their stages and sell my course. At one point, we were sending out close to $700,000 a year in affiliate profits. And it was just a really amazing run. Well, all that's great. And then 2012 hits. In 2012, my buddy and I went through some pretty, as you're an entrepreneur, man, you go through these ups and downs. And you talk about struggles. I definitely have my share of struggles. And I'm not proud to say it, but, I went through a very hard divorce. And I was making money. I was on the road. I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I'm building up this legacy for my family. And the whole time I was forgetting about my family. I was forgetting about the thing that was probably the most important to me. So the weird thing about presenting and actually becoming successful in something like speaking or having your own course, something like that, is the more that you're successful, the more demand that you have for your product, the more that people want you to come and talk, and the more they want you to hang out, the more they want you to spend time with them and their people. And you set no boundaries, because you can go take you can do a 3-hour plane ride, another day, speak, come back. So you kill 2 or 3 days, you might make $30,000, $40,000. And that's a pretty daggum, for most people, a lot of money. But what do you sacrifice? What do you sacrifice? And for me, I sacrificed the thing that was most important to me, which is my marriage. Now, on the other side of it, it didn't give her merit to, have an affair. But on the other side of it too, I definitely take my responsibility, and whatever you're not getting something at home, you go find it from somewhere else. Anyway, so I went through this hard time of divorce, and I had another friend of mine, John Cochran, that went through a big relationship issue. And this is right around October. It was actually right around November of 2012. And so we decide we're going to skip winter. We're going to go to Hawaii, and we're going to skip winter, dude. I mean, I'm going through some crazy times with my divorce. I had 60 rental properties. Now I'm down to 30. I had free and rental properties. I had to pay out cash. My attorney was telling me I should declare bankruptcy in one of my companies, which I never did, by the way. I never declared bankruptcy out of anything I went through, which, not to say that I know a lot of successful people have, but for me, it was something I did not want to do, and I didn't do it. I actually ended up short selling a lot of my creditors. Anyway, so I went through a bad relationship with my software was kind of crashing for other reasons. And so it was getting harder for short sales around this time, if you remember, around 2012. And I decided, you know what, I just need a break. So we're going to go to Hawaii and skip winter. And we meet up in Vegas. And we're at a dinner, and John looks over at me, bro. And he says, dude, what's that lump on your throat?
Oh.
And I was like, a lump on my throat? I mean, I'm a guy, I got lumps. What do you mean a lump? He's like, dude, I mean, it's a pretty good sized lump on your throat. Like, I was like, you mean my Adam's apple or something? He's like, no, dude, it's like a lump. It's like, you might want to check this out. So I go to the bathroom. I get up out of dinner. I go to the bathroom. I'm like looking at my mirror and everything. And even then, I'm kind of like, this kind of looks like a lump, but I didn't really notice. So now I'm freaked out. We go ahead and leave from Vegas to Hawaii. We land in Hawaii. I go to urgent care. They give me some pills, basically said, you know what, come back in 10 days. You probably picked up something in Vegas while you were there, because we hung out there for like 2 days, went on like 4-wheelers and did stuff in the desert. He was like, you might have picked up something, or you might in a hotel, there's a lot of smoke. He said, allergic reaction. I was like, yeah. Well, 10 days goes by and nothing's changed. So then I was like, I need to go get this really checked out. So I go to an endocrinologist and I get a fine needle aspiration. And that means they put a needle in your throat or in the thing, and they basically decide if it's malignant or benign. And I remember the doctor saying, we'll get the results tomorrow, and I'll give you a call and let you know. And I remember joking with John, like, can you imagine what if I have cancer? Like I was like joking around. And I remember getting the phone call the next day. I remember exactly where I was. I was at the counter at our condo. By the way, we had to rent out a condo for like 3 months. So you have to pay all in advance. And we had a bunch of excursions and things. I mean, we're going to skip winter. I remember being at the counter at this condo, looking over at John when the phone rang. I was like, ooh, the doctor. I remember the phone number. I pick it up. I'm saying, it's Cory. He's like, I have some news I want to tell you. And I was like, ooh, well, hopefully it's good news. I'm a pretty optimistic person. He's like, I wish it was. And he proceeded to tell me that I had thyroid carcinoma cancer and that I should immediately cancel all of my vacation plans and immediately go back to Oklahoma and start getting things in order with a doctor and surgery. And, because it's at stage, I think it was at stage 2, and it would, it could grow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like I was in a fog hearing this, dude, because in my family, no one has had cancer. My brothers, literally, man, they drink so much alcohol and they eat so many bad things, like you would think they would get cancer, but I'm the kind of guy that's kind of healthy, eating pretty decent stuff. And so I'm like thinking, this can't happen. This is like, there's something wrong. And then I start to actually let this sink in, and I canceled I felt horrible for John. I canceled all my plans. We lost a lot of money. We couldn't get it back because we had to pay for things in advance. I let John down in my mind at that time. I totally lost money. I was in a state of, I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know if I'm going to die. Like, I've never had anything. Like, I've never had, anybody says you have the C word, bro, it is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It is a big deal. Fast forward, I go back home. My mom literally is about to freak out. My brother is telling me I need to go to the hospital immediately, and he's like getting so angry. I mean, like, my brother, everybody's freaking out, and I'm just like thinking this through. Like, I need to learn everything I possibly can about thyroid carcinoma cancer. I need to become very educated, and I need to see like what's going on. So I did. I ended up not getting much sleep for the next 4.5, 5 weeks. Literally that next 30 days, I was in surgery. I went to Cancer Center Treatment of America because our Blue Cross insurance covered. And they were the nicest people. They were the fantastic people. And I actually got a chance to research and choose a surgeon that had done over 800 thyroidectomies, which is, they remove your thyroid.
Yeah.
And out of the 800, he's only had 2 things that happened. One of them, they paralyzed their vocal cords. And 2, the person actually passed away. They died. And so I thought that was pretty good odds. But it still makes you think, right? Like, I mean, you're making your living pretty much talking and on stages and doing stuff. And then talk about dying at that age. I mean, oh my gosh, I was just like destroyed.
Can't even comprehend something like that. Yeah.
Man. So we did the surgery, and there was a lot of amazing things happen. I'm leaving out the details, but thank God, dude, that has been over 6 years ago. No remission. Everything was completely gone. And I'm just so absolutely thankful that that's happened, dude. So praise God on that. In the meantime, I had a loss mitigation company. I left that part out. I ended up, because I was basically a whole year of taking off from this whole cancer thing, I had to do something that was just low hanging fruit. And that was wholesaling. And so I stopped doing all my short sales. I had a senior loss mitigator that I hired. We ended up letting her go. That was in a loss mitigation company. I stopped going to speak on stages. I stopped doing all this stuff. And I literally just started doing wholesaling. And man, that's what we're doing today. We focus completely on wholesaling. It's a very boring business model, but we'll end up doing the best we ever have this year. Probably 112 to 113 wholesale deals. Last year, we did the best we ever did, was like 103 wholesale deals. Got a pretty lean and mean team, rocking and rolling. People I can trust. I got a rock star, personal assistant that's been with me for a very long time that I will trust her to take a bullet for her. And I got to say that I know you probably didn't expect that for the next 18 to 22 minutes of me just talking about that.
That was awesome, man.
That's a little bit of that journey where I'm at right now. And wholesaling has been our thing. We've been opening in the last 2 to 3 years a multifamily division, which Nick, you know quite a bit about, which I'm excited to talk to you more about that. I own 128 units now through a syndication with partners. And we're almost in a process of raising another $4 million, raised $3 million of it on 294 units. So multifamily is very exciting for me. I love the syndication model, but that's almost like there's 2 separate businesses, the multifamily and then the wholesaling. So the wholesaling is as the bread and butter. You know, that's the stuff every month, you know, new cash comes in. It comes in very quickly. We've got it down very, very well. We send out between, you know, 40 and 50,000 postcards and direct mail and things every single month. We got our conversion numbers down pretty good. And we always get better, but marketing is my thing. So marketing has been my love, and I can find deals really, really well. We use a data scientist to find some of the best deals around. And so we've been focusing on wholesaling and multifamily. And that's kind of those two things with the real estate side. And then my coaching, I usually don't take on any more than 15. I think I've had 20 students at the most at one time, but I like to stay around 15 students. I don't do the group thing. I only have done one-on-one, and it's been fantastic. Some of our students are getting some amazing results. I'm super excited about. I know you guys get excited about your students getting results. And that's my thing that makes me very, very happy. If I was able to contribute and serve somebody and they can actually enhance their life and have great results from it, that makes me very, very happy. So long story longer, guys, I apologize, but you know, that's a little bit of the story.
Dude, that was awesome, man. That's an inspirational story. That's awesome to hear. And I love your business model, by the way. I've been trying to talk Nick into that for
Cory knows we had a little bit of a bump in the road back in 2010, 2011. A lot of people in Boston area know that bump. And we're back in now as it was just with you here, Cory. It's a great business to get into. That's cool. Man. That's awesome. Yeah. As you had mentioned, incredible what you've accomplished too with the scaling up of your wholesale business. We are wholesale coaches here in this market too. And I want you guys to hear what he just said, right? So if you're starting out in wholesaling and you're like, I'm not getting any deals. Well, it's one thing, you got to start somewhere, right? So if you're getting 75, 100, 120 leads coming in, you got to bang those phones and send out those text messages. But if you want to get to a place where you're doing 100, 150, 200 deals a year, Mr. Boatright here he's sending out how many postcards you sending out, Cory?
Probably 40 and 50,000, depending on, you know, postcards, letters, and niche lists, things like that.
You got it. And if you want, I know we only have, by the way, I think Rob's going to agree. This was an incredible part one. We're going to definitely have to have a part two of this because this is pretty insane. We've only got about 5 minutes left, but damn, this is great. When you open back up your low-hanging fruit, as you call it, wholesale business, which is funny because we actually call that the grind, right? Like we have the rungs of the ladder. We have wholesaling at the bottom. You don't need any cash or credit, but you're going to be grinding it out and making it happen. Then you go into the rehabbing, you know, with a little fix and flipping, which you have no interest in whatsoever. And then the landlording and multifamily here, finally the lending kind of at the top. When you started your wholesaling, how did you know what to scale first? Like, how did you kind of get those numbers up?
Right. So I just needed to understand how many pieces, whatever marketing I was working on. So if it was postcards, I need to figure out how many postcards equal X amount of calls, right? And how many calls actually turn into people that actually have a house for sale. And then how many people that have a house for sale actually get on an appointment we can set an appointment with. And then how many people we have an appointment with, we get a contract for, and how many contracts are actually closed. Once I figured out what those metrics were, then I knew that all I had to do is just turn on the faucet more. I always look at wholesaling like a mathematics game. It's nothing more than just like a numbers game. And people make it so confusing and so all these other things because they jump from one thing to another, whatever. But once you find a honey hole and once you find out where you can actually control your own leads, then you can start putting together some very interesting metrics. And then it just comes down to putting more into just turning on the faucet more. And once we figured that part out, that really changed everything. Also with direct mail, it's not something you can dabble in. A lot of people say, oh, I sent out a mailer last week or last month. I didn't get anything. And they stop. But you have to continue to send out postcards and mailers for 4 to 6 months before you really start to see those same people that you're hitting every month with the postcard, with letter, they start to respond. Usually between the 4th and 6th time, sometimes even longer, you're going to get a lot more responses because they start to see you, they know you. The first they're just like, who is this? And they throw you away. But then you start to become more familiar and top of mind, and that's when you get the calls. So I would commit to treating that postcard business and direct mail business like a business and not like a hobby.
Preach.
Thank you, sir. That was awesome.
we
Hey,
tell
what's
our students all the time? It's exactly the same thing. It is not rocket science. You have to be consistent. You can't say, okay, I haven't gotten a deal in 2 months and stop your direct mail. You might as well not send a letter at that point, right?
That's right. That's right, man. You gotta keep it going. You gotta keep it going. Yeah.
1 minute or less, Cory, on what's the best purchase you've made that's under $100 in the past year or past 5 years?
Under 100?
Under 100.
Put me on the
That's why it's a
spot.
hard question.
Oh, okay, I got it. This thing. See this right here?
Nice.
This thing right here. This thing has been good. No, probably yep, I would say under $100. Wow. That's just so ambiguous in terms of like whether business or personal. Probably under $100. Man, put me on the spot here.
I love not a prepared question, so everybody knows it's not a prepared question.
You know what? I think it's probably like this iPhone, this X charger that has 6,000 milliamps.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
Which charges like up to 2 times a full charge.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
Pretty skinny because when you're on your phone a lot, right? It's like a business tool. I mean, so that helps quite a bit. So that's probably it. Probably a charger.
Honestly, that was a great answer. I had a Mophie on my last one. That was
I've had one.
It's personal and business, right? Because it helps with both. With your cell phone, you need to connect with relationships and connect with business. So good answer. Good answer. Hey, Cory, what's the best way people can reach you and connect with you?
Sure, man. They can go to Facebook, type in my name, Cory Boatright, and look for the guy skydiving behind. That's the little animated GIF or video on there. Or just go to CoryBoatright.com, CoryBoatright. You can see, a lot of different ways to connect on there very easily.
That was awesome. Hey, man, thanks so much for coming on. We're definitely doing a part 2 if you're cool with it.
I'm down for it. Then you're going to speak for like 15 minutes. But man, I'd love to do a part 2. Anything you want to know, I'm an open book for you, bro.
You're the best, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, this is it for part 1 with Cory Boatright. We will see you guys on the next episode. Stick around and subscribe.